Am I the a-hole for still going on vacation after my wife cancels on me? My wife and I planned a week-long vacation for mid-January 2025. This was a birthday cruise for me. I paid for the entire cruise out of my personal funds, approximately $2,400. She has her own account. I have my own account, and we share a joint account. Around Christmas 2024, we had a few arguments. Nothing crazy, but a few arguments about this and that, mainly over daily stresses. She told me after New Year's that she was not going on vacation with me because of the arguments we had. Even though they were settled, she felt we may get into more arguments and didn't want to feel trapped on vacation with me if we were arguing. I understood her apprehension. I listened to her concerns, and though I felt a nice vacation from the daily stresses would be a healthy thing, I decided that I would forgo the birthday vacation and plan another trip for another time. Things were smooth after that. I shared with my wife that I still want to go on vacation, and she agreed to rebook another cruise. This time I paid for the cruise, airfare, hotel transfers, excursions, Wi-Fi, soda, packages etc. with whatever credit I received from the original cancellation, and the rest from my personal funds, an additional $540. This trip is for March 2025. 2 weeks before the trip, my wife and I had another argument about daily stresses again. Like all arguments, they are civil and usually get resolved fairly quickly. A week after the argument, which is now a week before the vacation, my wife says she does not want to go on vacation again. I told her that I would like her to go and I would hope she would reconsider. That's pretty much all I talked to her about regarding the trip. Now I am for days before the vacation. I cannot cancel without serious financial penalties. I have taken off from both jobs I work and I really need to get somewhere and I told her I am going on the vacation anyway and I plan to do so. I left the conversation at that. I didn't want to argue about it or try to convince her. I figured she'd either change her mind or she wouldn't, but I wasn't going to sit around and stress over it. I work hard at my jobs, so vacations are rare for me. My wife and I have always managed our own expenses, so I didn't think it was a big deal. I tried to be understanding, but I also needed this trip. I wasn't going to lose out financially again over this. So am I the a-hole for still going on vacation even after she cancels on me?
Here are the top comments.
If my partner bailed onto vacations over minor arguments, I'd be arguing with myself on a beach instead. You're not the a-hole. You're just finally choosing peace over pettiness. Bon voyage, OP.
Not the a-hole. Does she even like you, man? She doesn't even want to go on vacation with you? Argument doesn't equal cancel $2,400 vacation. That's an extremely drastic decision to make after a simple argument. If that's the thing she decides to dangle over your head, it's telling.
OP has got bigger problems than just vacation scheduling. Wife is clearly using the vacations as a way to punish OP even after the arguments are over. I'm questioning whether or not the arguments happen so OP's wife could have an excuse not to go. It seems too convenient.
Am I the a-hole for not cleaning the kitchen after I was done cooking? My partner 26M and I 24F live together in a home that I recently purchased last year. I put all of my savings into the home and pay 100% of the mortgage every month. We split bills 50-50 including groceries. My partner is in the process of gaining permanent residency. It's a complicated family situation, but essentially his entire family is here, but he's not a citizen. He's also started within the past year his own commercial flooring business. He doesn't get enough jobs to sustain his income full-time with his business, so he often does random labor subcontracting work. I make a bit more money than him. Anyway, given all this, I decided I wouldn't charge him any rent, since the house is in my name anyway. The one agreement we had was that he would help me out with household chores. We are both trying to save money, so we try to eat out as little as possible. Every night, I come from work and cook a nice dinner, and he stacks the dishwasher and washes the pots or chopping boards that can't go in the dishwasher. I feel like this is an even share in workload. Recently, over the past couple of weeks, he's been coming home pretty late, like around 9 p.m. I still cook dinner for him and wait for him to come. But this week, he's told me he's too exhausted to clean. Fair enough. But the issue is that I don't want to come home from my job, spend an hour cleaning the kitchen, then another hour cooking. I need time after work to debrief and relax. So today I called him and told him I was just gonna get takeaway for dinner. He got a little shitty at me and made a comment about how we were supposed to be saving money. I told him I was tired and I couldn't clean then cook then clean again. He was kinda like, I'm working late. Why can't you just do it? I don't know, maybe I should be more polite and just clean the kitchen when he's working late. But it kinda bugs me because he's choosing to work late. I've told him time and time again to just get a full-time job so he's not constantly stressed about finding work for his business and doing subcontracting work that runs late. But he told me he doesn't want to kiss anyone's and that he works well under his own direction. But in my opinion, that's life. I work under authority at my job and I deal with it in exchange for a consistent paycheck. Also, I don't think it's fair that I'm sacrificing my time so he gets to earn more money for himself. I woke up this morning and the kitchen was still a mess. He left early for work, so I sighed and started cleaning. I get that he's tired, but so am I. It's just frustrating because I feel like I'm constantly picking up slack. I don't know, maybe I'm overreacting. So am I the a-hole for expecting him to do some chores?
Here are the top comments.
Not the a-hole. You're out here running a whole household, cooking dinner and paying the mortgage, while he's acting like washing a couple of pots is manual labor on an oil rig. If he's too tired to clean, then you're too tired to be his personal chef. It's giving wants a traditional wife, but without traditional husband energy.
Not the a-hole. I bet even money he's not working late, just trying to come home to an already clean house and a hot homemade meal. As a side note, I don't care if he's doing his 50% around the house, but he needs to pay you rent. If these two things don't change, kick him out.
Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that me not giving my child a vintage name doesn't mean she can't? My sister 33F and I 29F are both expecting our first baby. My sister is super in love with vintage names and for about a decade has talked everyone's ear off about how much she wants to have babies with these names. I know her top 3 names for boys and girls are Edith, Martha, Audrey for girls and Alan, Harold, Stanley for boys. I'm not sure which of these names my future niece or nephew will get, but I know they are still my sister's top choices. My husband and I are not going for vintage names or classic names. We chose Lyric, which is pretty modern and not super common. My sister doesn't know the name yet, but she is aware of some names we chose not to use. We chose not to use names that could be difficult to spell or say based on the spelling, and she was upset we didn't have any vintage names on there. She made all these suggestions, and I told her thanks, but we had a different type of name we wanted. She asked why we didn't want to have the cousins match styles, and she said how cute it would be to have 2 little cousins with matching old people names. She had this idea of doing this photo shoot when the babies are born, where we dress them like grannies or grandpas, and she said the old names would make everything so much more perfect. I stopped talking about it when she did not take no for an answer. I got lists of vintage names, sent articles on how vintage names are in style right now. I ignored it all. She even sent me Instagram and TikTok accounts where influencers have babies with these vintage names, and she's like, ooh, look how cute. Doesn't this name sound so sweet for this little baby? Doesn't the vintage name add to the cuteness? I didn't engage or buy into any of it. Now my sister is crying and saying I'm ruining this, and she commented like she can't use a vintage name for her baby because we're not. I told her just because I'm not giving my daughter a vintage name, it doesn't mean she can't use a vintage name for her baby. I pointed out they are 2 separate people with different parents and don't need to match. She cried it won't be the same, and why can't I see how dismissive my comment is? So am I the a-hole here?
Here are the top comments.
Why aren't I the center of the world? Why won't you just do what I want you to? Why won't you listen to me? Not the a-hole. She sounds exhausting. Is your sister like this about everything? Or is this baby name freak out an aberration for her?
Not the a-hole. Your sister and her husband get to pick their baby's name, and you and your husband get to pick yours. If all 4 of you thought it was cool, that would be okay. But seriously, it's hard enough for some couples to agree on a name, let alone 4 people agree on a style.
You're not the a-hole. Choosing names for your child is a personal decision, and it's unreasonable for her to expect your choices to align with hers. It's about what works for your family.